Hey everybody, sorry I'm a little bit off here, but it seems like YouTube didn't want me to come live, so I had to redo the stream 3 times. So before you come in the chat, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video. I'm normally not late, but it was something beyond my control. Okay, let's pin this. So, hey Lenore, welcome in. Unfortunately, I only had to. I set the stream, then I tried to go on 3 times in a row. So I had to just come live because for some reason it wouldn't. And there's Leslie. Welcome in, ladies. So I think there's a lot of off things going on with YouTube lately. And even setting a stream, it wants to act up. So I persevered, though. It's good to see you, ladies, and welcome in. Do not forget that thumbs up, please, and thank you. So I wasn't too off. I think it went pretty well, being I had to reset it 3 times. So I just came live and went with that. I hope you guys are having a great day, and there is Minnie. Yeah, I had to delete that first one, Minnie, and start all over. And I couldn't come in on the regular stream. It said you're not, something about you don't have this feature. And I'm like, yes, I do. So I just kept going and I did it. So, hey, Brian, I was thinking about you. I was like, where's that young man at? And it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well, Brian. Everything going okay? But it's just, you set a stream. Okay. For 1 minute, it said chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Successfully connected. That'd be enough. It makes you wonder if you it's doing it again. If you set something up, if it's actually going to, are you going to have to go back in and redo it and redo it and redo it? So I don't understand that. Can you guys hear and see me? Because it says chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Now it's successfully connected. Okay, good. It's like pulling hen's teeth and they don't have any, right? So the weather is a little less hot here, thank goodness. I know it's hot in a lot of states right now, and we just have to bear with it until. I love the fall of the year with all the color changes, and it's a little cool but not really bad. But that and springtime's my favorite time of the year. So, and thank you guys. I was hoping that you would find me. I had to totally delete the first one because it wouldn't let me come in. And it says this something about this option is not available, and I'm like, yeah. Brian lives in West Virginia, so we're talking about south. And yeah, it's always, I can't wait for the fall myself. Maybe a little sweater or something. And there it goes again. Oh my gosh, are we going to make it through this, guys? I hope so. So today we're going to begin with Psalms 46, and basically it's, I want to read this, guys, to you before we begin. And this is kind of like a testimony of not having that fear. Of course, it does start out with God is our refuge and strength, and ever present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, and that's why breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. And that keeps doing that. Hopefully, I don't lose transmission here. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Am I spinning? I'm not surprised. Let's give it a few minutes and hope it straightens up, because I don't see, it keeps saying chat disconnected and then successfully connected. Oh my goodness. I may have to start another one. I've been talk about the bad luck. Uh, is it? Let's give it just a few seconds to see if it'll behave. That's happened on a lot of channels, and see if we can't get moving with this. Okay, because I don't see what you're seeing. Oh, okay. See, sometimes YouTube has been like that. You'll see some spinning and then it'll come back on. And so hopefully we're going, Minnie. So, it says plainly, as we begin with Psalm 46, God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountain shakes with its swelling, there is a river whose streams shall make glad. Of course, that's what I just read. But God is definitely our strength and refuge, because without him, it would be hopeless. And he is the source of our strength. And this verse kind of invites believers to trust with confidence in God's unwavering support, is what that's really saying. And we'll drop down and go to, well, I've already basically read that in the beginning. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes war cease to the end of the earth. He breaks, of course, we read that. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in fire. Be still and know that I am God. And here we go again. I can see what's going on. I will be exalted among nations. I will be exalted in the earth. So that's basically what, it's speaking here of God's omnipotent power, and how he can help us with whatever we're going through, as long as we remain close to him. And I hope that's not spinning. And as long as we remain close to him, he is our refuge, and he's always there for us. And it's, and even God's works, even his very voice can calm the sea and calm things in our own life, if we only stay close to him, and his teachings, that we will receive the power from him to get through whatever we are going through. And that is so true. Good, Minnie. Good, good, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. But as we drop down to verse 47, To the chief musician, a psalm of the sons of Korah. And there is Tanya. Welcome in. Thank you. I like orange. Thank you so much. I haven't wore pearls in forever, and this was so long I tripled it. And welcome in, sweetie. I know orange is such a that and yellow is such an uplifting thing. It really and good to see you, Tanya. Hopefully there won't be many spinning wheels in the middle of this. So, oh, clap your hands, and all you people shout to God with the voice of triumph. For the Lord Most High is awesome. He is a great king over all the earth. He will subdue the people under us and the nations under our feet. He will choose our inheritance for us, the excellence of Jacob, whom he loves. God has gone up with a shout, the Lord with the shout of a trumpet. Now, I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but at the end of days, and we don't know when that is, there will absolutely be, you will absolutely hear trumpets blowing during that time, because the creator of the earth and everything on it will be coming back, and we don't know when that is, but you that will be heard, right before his coming. So sing praises to God, sing praises to our King, sing praises. For God is the King of all the earth, sing praises with understanding. And sometimes when we're having trials, and it's really hard to find peace during that time, but God can do, he can help us to manage our fears and our anxieties by coming and praying to him, and he knows anyway. But another thing, he wants us to know that he is there. He never leaves us in our times of trial and tribulation. He's always there, and he brings us out the other side of some things that are really terrible. And then I think we can more learn to appreciate him so much more, because yes, we went through something, but you know what? He was right with us, and he loves us. And I really believe he feels what we feel, because we're his creation. I really believe that. Even though he is God, I believe he does feel as his children do. And he walks with us, and every day, whether we realize it or not. And the chat is disconnected now, it's back again. Imagine that. But he does walk with us, and he's there with us in our times of grief, anxiety, fear. And we need to really lean on him, because fear is a debilitating thing. If we learn that situations will eventually clear up, as long as we stay on that straight and narrow path and keep the faith and be patient, because God does things in his own time and in his own way. He knows everything about us. He knows what's best for us. And sometimes we're like, even sometimes when we're being attacked and it just seems unending and it goes on, and we wonder, and we get, it really upsets us, and that's when we really need to cling to God. Because I tell you what, probably 95% of that equation is Satan. And if Satan sees you in a state where you're nervous, upset, fearful, he's going to work with that. And it's hard to keep that. It really is to keep that attitude. Well, this person's coming at me, but and you feel so frustrated and stuff like that. And it's we just have to learn to take a deep breath and say God's in control and nothing's going to happen to me today that God cannot deliver me from, even though it might be hard in the meanwhile, but there's nothing that he can't get you through. And you just have to, Satan loves it when people are upset, because that way he comes in and starts working on those human emotions. And he's good at that too, guys. Never believe that he's not, because he is, because he knows where all those soft spots are. So we really have to, watch out for that. So where was I? Okay, nothing like me getting lost on that. Okay, we'll start with, oh my gosh, I've totally lost it. Guys, when I get to talking, it happens every time. Maybe one of these days I'll learn to put a piece of paper there, huh? Let's see, where are we at? Psalm, we started with this. Okay, 48. Okay, great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in his holy mountain. Beautiful in elevation, the joy of the whole earth, and Mount Zion on the sides of the north. The city of the great king, God is in her palaces. He is known as her refuge, for behold, the kings assembled. They passed by together, they saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled, they hastened away. Fear took hold of them there, and pain as a woman in birth pangs. As when you break the ships of Tarshish with an east wind, as we have heard, so we have seen in the city of the Lord of hosts. In the city of our God, God will establish it forever. And we know that God, it says, I go and prepare a place for you. If it were not so, I would not have said it. So, it's, I'm sure a lot of you remember that passage in the Bible, and that's what that reminds me of, because he has created, God has created a whole city that's in heaven, that cannot be broken and will not be broken, because he is the creator of it. And it reminded me so much of that. We have thought, O God, on your loving kindness in the midst of your temple, according to your name, O God. So is your praise to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Judah be glad because of your judgments. Walk about Zion and go all around her. Count her towers, mark well her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that you may tell it to the generation following. For this is God, our God forever and ever. He will be our guide even to death. So, the Bible is totally full of, God's love for us, the never ending love, the being with us all, even through, he's there when we were born and he is there when we pass away. It's the circle of life. And he's even there then with us. He doesn't forsake us, and he expects us not to forsake him neither. But yes, even to death, he is still with us, which is very comforting. Psalm 49, to the chief musician, a psalm of the sons of Korah. Hear this, all peoples, give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth shall speak wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall give understanding. Excuse me. I will incline my ear to a proverb. I will disclose my dark saying on the harp. Why should I fear in the days of evil, when the iniquity at my heels surrounds me? Those who trust in their wealth and boast in the multitude of their riches, none of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him. And that kind of reminds me of last week when Alfonso asked if a priest could condemn someone. No, they can't. Now, he might get condemned for thinking that, but you can't because, like it says here, none of them can by any means redeem his brother. And you can't because everyone's judged on their own merit. And, it says, right here, you know, for the redemption of their soul is costly and shall cease forever, that he should continue to live eternally and not see the pit. And we know what that pit is, and we want to avoid that. It's wouldn't it be sad, guys? There's people that they really don't believe in heaven or hell, and then they pass away and they end up in a place that they heard about but never paid attention about that it was actually true. So that's not the time to find out that the difference between the two. But there's no amount of money that can buy anyone into heaven at all. God cannot be bought, guys. What he expects to see is your unwavering faith and your loyalty, and to listen when he speaks. And he does speak to people, guys, even today. He really does. And I think that he does expect that loyalty. I mean, he really it was a sad day in history, but a great one as well, because when he was crucified, and when the song says Jesus paid it all to him I owe. And that's totally, I mean, that's the epitome. That's something where we had a chance to be, not have to face that second death, but be with him in eternity and live forever and ever. For he sees wise men die, likewise the fool and the senseless person perish, and leave their wealth to others. Their inner thought is that their houses will last forever, and we know better than that. Their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Nevertheless, man, though in honor does not remain, he is like the beasts that perish. So what this is saying, that anything, that a house or something like that will perish. It will, sooner or later, its structures is going to weaken and it's going to need repairs. But and it's like the beasts that perish. And we, like I was saying, we all pass away one day. We're all born, we pass away, and that's a circle of life. And I know a lot of times people have lost a lot of loved ones, and it's still hard on them. It's still, and sometimes certain things happen that will remind them of that loved one. And then sometimes it triggers happiness, but sometimes it triggers sadness as well. And I think a lot of times when that happens, if we think about the times that we got to spend with that person and the moments that you can't buy those. And to think about that and think about the happiness associated with it. And I think that helps us get through, what we're going through. We miss them really bad, but I think that helps us to get through that. And it gets us out of that, And a lot of times people fight depression for that reason, that they've lost someone that they dearly love, and it just almost completely destroys them. And if you think about it, a lot of our loved ones, they would not want to see us, of course. They know that we mourn, but they would not want it. They would want us to live our lives and not and appreciate that for the time that we had with them, and move on, because they've lived their life, and then ours is, we're still on this earth. And I truly believe that that's the case. I really do. Thank you for the hearts that, you know, in what I always say, if you love somebody, tell them, because tomorrow's not promised. And I think sometimes we take that for granted. And I think we should say it, because we never know when we could lose somebody. And there again, that causes us to really, when they pass, dive deep down in that depression, because we have regrets, if I could say it. And it's so important to tell somebody that, because it really, in one way, it really makes their day. Because, guys, there's nothing about being loved. Love is something that cures a lot of things. It takes people out of what turmoil they might be going through. And it doesn't hurt to open up your heart to anybody, because if something happens to them, you will know without a doubt that they know that you love them. And I think that's so important. It's those unsaid words that sometimes come back to haunt us, but I really believe in that, guys. And I don't think it could be said, telling someone you love them. I don't think you could say it enough. I mean, they might know it, but they do like hearing it, right? So it's a good thing to, because when you love someone for them. I love you, Tanya. You love them for them, and you don't care what happened in their past or whatever. You love them for who they are, not, if you don't love someone for who they are, you're wanting to change them, and that's not love, that's control. It is control. God loves us unconditionally. Why can't we project that to other people, right? It's what's fair for the goose is fair for the gander, right? This is the way of those who are foolish, and of their prosperity who approve their sayings. Like sheep they are laid in the grave, death shall not feed on them. The upright shall have dominion over them in the morning, and their beauty shall be consumed in the grave, far from their dwelling. That's another thing. Our as we get older, our looks change. And there's Tracy. Our looks are going to change. I mean, I see it every day, but our looks are going to change. But we shouldn't think that someone is going to love us less because our looks changed. We don't look like we did when we were younger, and who does? And to just love that person, and not, I have seen some of the most attractive people in the world that had such an ugly attitude, that they were ugly, period. And I know you guys have experienced that, where someone thought that they were so attractive that it set them above someone else, and they was better than everybody. And it's so wrong, guys. We're all humans. We all have a beating heart. And it doesn't matter, because love does not judge. Period. It really don't. Love accepts that person for who they are, and it doesn't matter. Not a lot of people, we live in a world where not a lot of people look at it like that, but, then a lot of people judge people that are poor. That's true, Tracy. That don't have anything and they might be dirty and they just don't want to be around them. But the Christian person will come up to them and ask them if they can help them. They're not embarrassed. They don't think they're better. And like it says in the Bible, the first will be last and the last will be first. So we have to remember the dignity of other people, and that really goes a long way. And when you step out and do things for people like that, that others may not have nothing to do with it, that's God right there. And they see that, guys. They do see that. They think, gee, everyone doesn't want to be around me, but this person came up and treated me like I'm a human being, and there's not one of us on this earth better than the other. I guarantee you. I don't care how much money you got, what kind of car you drive. If you have a whole wall lined with diamonds, diamond jewelry, it doesn't matter. We're all the same. And it does. Kindness spreads like wildflowers, and it really does, because it makes other people blossom. And once, and it goes on because they have received kindness from another person, and it's made them so, it makes you lighthearted, and it just makes you want to share it, doesn't it? And it does. It's just, and that's a good expression, Tanya. It spreads like wildflowers, and it's a beautiful thing. I like the way you put that. But God will redeem my soul from the power of the grave. And that means that, yes, we're all going to pass one day, and our soul either goes one place or the other. And He will redeem your soul, because you will not have to suffer that second death. Shine your light in the darkness. Yes, Tracy, that is so true. And the world we live in today, there is darkness in it. And to be able to be like a beacon of light where there's darkness, where, that it's so depressing and so gray, put that, turn that light on, and things like that is so true. For He shall receive me. That means that after we have lived life on this earth and the multitude of things that we have been through, that He shall receive us, and that's heaven, guys. And I believe when we get to heaven, we will anything that happened to us on earth, because in heaven there's no room. There will be an overwhelming sense of gratitude, and I don't think we'll remember, because we know how we got there, and there's no sense in reliving the past, right? So I don't think there'll be any room for remembering negative things. I really don't. Do not be afraid when one becomes rich, when the glory of his house is increased, for when he dies, he shall carry nothing away. So that just goes along with the old saying that a person has never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. And that's what I thought about, but that, we've heard that before. His glory shall not be descend after him, though while he lives, he blesses himself. Blesses himself. So that means he doesn't do anything good with his riches. He hoards those. He doesn't give to the people that are less fortunate. And there's nothing wrong with having money, guys. It is the love of money over people is where the problem comes in. There's nothing wrong with earning money and working hard, but it is when you put it above a human being. And that's when it gets sad, guys. For men will praise you when you do well for yourself. He shall go to the generation of his fathers. They shall never see light. And we know where that's at. They shall never see light. A man who is in honor yet does not understand is like the beasts that perish. So what this is saying that, you have the rich man, and he lives his life and he made his wealth, but what has he done with God's blessing? Because that's God's blessing. Has he helped another human being? Has he reached out to people that are less fortunate? And that's what God looks at. I believe sometimes God blesses people with money that are really kind-hearted, and they like to see the betterment of another person. And I really believe that, guys. And nothing wrong with money, nothing wrong with having money, but it's the love of money. And we have to really watch that. There's some people that think they never have enough money, however, they have enough to live their entire life. And it's just, I'm sure you guys have experienced that. The more they get, the more they want. They don't stop and think about, excuse me, gee, I have all this and I've been blessed and I have all I need. And why people they do that, because it's just an unquenchable desire to have more, more, and more. And there's nothing wrong with having more. And there's Doug speaking the truth there. We are all the same, none above the other. Hello, Gina, Tanya, Lenore, Tracy, and Minnie, and Brian, and welcome in, Doug. There's not one person better than the other. God looks upon the giving, but the giving from the heart, not as a spectacle or look at me, I did this. He knows why you did it. And it's just good to know that that we have what we need. We may not be rich, but we have what we need because God does supply what we need when we need it. And like I said, it's the love of money, the love. When you love the money more than you do a person, that's where the problem comes in. So let's go down to Psalm 50 and welcome in, Doug. It's good to see you. I can actually feel air up here. The sun hasn't been beaten down on the roof here. A psalm of Sahaph. The mighty one, God the Lord has spoken and called the earth. From the rising of the sun, it is going down out of Zion. The perfection of beauty, God shall shine forth. Our God shall come and shall not be silent. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tempestuous all around him. He shall call to the heavens from above and go to the earth that he may judge his people. And there's Dana. Welcome in, sweetie. It's good to see you. And we all get judged. I mean, it says he shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth, and he may judge his people. And we all get judged, guys. Are we perfect? Well, no. And that's all of us, not just, when they say perfection's on the other side, perfection is on the other side because God is the only perfect one. He has the only right to judge anyone, but yet sometimes we get judged harshly for things that I think a lot of times, guys, when people judge us, there's something lacking in themselves. I really believe that. I think that, sometimes when other people judge us, there's something going on in their own life that they want to kind of disconnect from and cast it on another person. I really believe that, and the world, we'd be a lot better off if people looked at people as people instead of, uh, well, did you hear, or did you hear, or I heard. I had a school teacher say, if a sentence starts out with that, did you hear or I heard, be careful, be careful, and it's, some people are not happy and they don't want you to be happy and they just keep digging and digging, and sometimes, guys, it's hard to love people like that, but we must, because that's what God expects from us, that we love one another like he has loved us from the very beginning. And we will have trials and tribulations, and we have to know that God is there with us. And sometimes we get so, our emotions get away from us, and we can't even see God or even feel God's presence in our life. And He's right there because we get so distracted. We're like a horse, kind of like wearing blinders. The only thing we can see, is straight ahead. Dana has a prayer request. Really horrible flooding going on right now in West Virginia. Brian, you live in West Virginia. Do you have flooding down in that area? I know they're having a horrible time. Terrible. Brian, to the front of the store. We sure will. And yeah, there's been horrific. And God does hate gossip because 9 times out of 10, like the old school teacher said, be careful of I heard or did you hear. That's when you turn around and go the other way. But yeah, gossip is bad and it hurts other people, and it really does. And guys, 9 times out of 10, it's not true. And there's Alfonso. Welcome in. I am having a blessed day, and I hope you are as well. And Alfonso's been out on a walk. That's good for you. Brian, did I put you to sleep? Because he lives, believe he lives in West Virginia, I believe. And it's good to see Alfonso. And just, you see flooding, people losing everything. And it's just in about 10 minutes, everything is just wiped out from that flood water, and kind of takes you back to, in the Bible, to Revelations, where all these catastrophic things will be going on. But yeah, gossip, there's no. And wildfires, I think I seen a thing on TV where this young man admitted starting these fires, and that's terrible. People losing things, and beautiful forest and trees being decimated. It's a horrible thing. And it's a well known fact that trees do produce oxygen. So I can't imagine. Oh, we've had a lot of tornadoes that have been bad this year, and there's been some earthquakes. I think it was over in China. Earthquakes and just devastating things that just devastate everything. It takes just that flood water just sweeps in and everything takes everything with it. So we need to remember the wildfires too. That, guys, that just goes to show you that you could have something one day and the next day it'd be gone. We really have to be I'm really thankful to God that we're not in that situation where we lose everything and we don't have anything. You know, a lot of people work hard, guys, and things like that can just destroy everything you worked for, you know. And there's insurance, yes, there's insurance, but some of them you gotta fight trying to get them to pay off. This is especially true in life insurance policies. How well I know, but my husband's boss's home was just condemned from flooding 2 weeks ago. Oh, sorry to hear that, Dana. That's awful. You know, when water comes in, even though there's something standing, there's the problem of bacteria and mold. It's really bad, and a lot of people are really highly allergic to mold, but it also damages the structure if it sits to, you know, if it don't just sweep it away, you know, like it's really sad to see, you know, because we really love our homes. It's our place of refuge, and we just, it would be terrible to deal with that. A lot of insurance companies are pulling out of states where there are wildfire, hurricanes, and floods. Naturally, they would. Now, their insurance company, it's all good while they're taking the money in, and you paid them for years, and something happens beyond your control, and they act like that you've committed a cardinal sin when you file a claim, you know. But I remember when we had the tornado here in 2012, our adjusters came and nobody was home, and that made me mad. And you know, and there we had $60,000 worth of damage on this house. You know, the hail was like softball size, and it would bounce off the ground, and it hit the basement windows, and it was a horrible, horrible time. And it seems like the tornadoes are getting worse, and you know, there's tornadoes, flooding, earthquakes, and fires. It's just, I tell you, I don't know why anyone would want to start a fire and burn up stuff for it. They got a problem. You know, they really do. I mean, when you cause a fire and it spreads like that and burns up someone's house or whatever, I mean, that's not a good thing. There's a problem there, you know. He shall call to the heavens from above, and to the earth that he may judge his people. Gather my saints together to me, those who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Let the heavens declare his righteousness, for God himself is judge, which we talked about. He's the judge, and no one should judge anybody. Like the old saying, he who lives in a glass house should not cast stones, because we're not perfect. And people think, well, so and so did something worse than me. Well, sin is sin no matter what it is. And by the glory of God, it can be forgiven in repentance, you know, and you never, like it says, what we measured to others will be measured to us as well. And that's when we really got to be careful and bite our tongue and get that evil thought out of our mind, you know. Hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Israel, and I will testify against you. I am God, your God. I will not rebuke you for your sacrifices or your burnt offerings, which are continually before me. See, that's the reasoning behind why it's being done. So he's kind of caught on there. I will not take a bull from your house, nor goats out of your folds, for every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all its fullness. I will eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats. Offer to God thanksgiving and pay your vows to the Most High. Call upon me in the day of trouble. Right, guys? We spoke about that. I will deliver you and you shall glorify me. And as it began, where it says, the Lord is my refuge. And what should we fear? Of course, I got good at it because I had to start the stream 3 times. So, anywho, I will deliver you and you shall glorify me. Because he does deliver people from the things they're going through. He really does. And to keep the faith and not fear, and take your mind into a place where you're thinking too far ahead. Stay in the day. Don't worry about tomorrow because tomorrow may never come, right, guys? It may never come. Not that I'm being negative, but you know where I'm coming from. Excuse me. But to the wicked, God says, what right have you to declare my statutes or take my covenant in your mouth? Seeing you hate instruction and cast my words behind you, when you saw a thief, you consented with him and have been a partaker with adulterers. You give your mouth to evil and your tongue frames deceit. You sit and speak against your brother. Now, see, that's a bad thing. I remember 20 years ago living in Mexico, we had teenagers setting school playgrounds on fire. And isn't that sad? Something for the community that, that someone would do that when it's for everyone. And just, I don't know if it's a phase they're going through or they just didn't have nothing to do, if they're just selfish. Over here, they, well, not here, but in Kentucky, they destroyed a golf course. And for what? And they had to redo the green and everything, and they had run through it on some kind of ATV vehicles just for meanness. That's the devil, that's for sure, wanting to destroy something that brings other people joy. It's so sad. Because kids today, things are different and they do need places they can go that they feel safe and they can play and stuff like that. And someone comes along and destroys it. And for what? Is it about control? I knock some child out of enjoying themselves, or they just have problems? We may never know because we don't think like that. We don't, we're not that kind of person. you know you slander your own mother's son. These things you have done, and I kept silent. My mom has an atheist her whole life. At the end, she turned to God. That made my heart so happy, and I'm so glad, Tanya, because it's so important where we spend our eternity, and I'm so glad that happened. And I'm sure it really, even though you were heartbroken, it consoled your heart because you knew where she was going, and it just brings about such joy in your heart. And just, that's wonderful, Tanya. That's really, really a good thing that had happened, even though it was later in her life, but it did happen. And I'm so happy for that for you, because it helped you during some of your hardest times when she had passed and you missed her so much. You know, sometimes we don't want to let go of people, and we're under the assumption sometimes that we never think about someone passing, and we just never know. And And it's one of the hardest things you'll ever have to live through, being especially a parent, and a child is worse. When we really, it's really hard times, guys. But if we hold on to those memories that we had with those loved ones, that when we were happy and they were their happiest, that when you were with them, and hang on to that, and it helps. It doesn't take the pain away, but it helps, because there's nothing like the loss of a loved one. And we're all going to experience it. We're going to pass one day too. And it can be really hard, guys. It really can be. And for the fact that you're used to seeing that person, and things will come up that will remind you of that person. And sometimes it brings a smile, and sometimes it really, really brings a tear. But I don't think you ever get over someone passing. You kind of learn to cope with it, because it's always there. Because that person was, really an extension of you, really, because you loved them that much. That's how I would describe it. You thought that I was altogether like you, and I will not rebuke you and set them in order before your eyes. Now consider this, you who forget God, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Whoever offers praise glorifies me, and to him who orders his conduct upright, I will show the salvation of God. So we're moving to Psalm 51, to the chief musician, a psalm of David, when Nathan the prophet went to him after he had gone in Bathsheba. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness. According to the multitude of your tender mercies, blot out my transgressions. Well, he's not going to blot out anything until you seek forgiveness. You have to seek forgiveness. You can't dance around it. You have to go straight through it. You have to, in order for those to be blotted, they have to be confessed, and to ask for that forgiveness. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. So here we go. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Against you, you only have I sinned, and done this evil in your sight, that you may be found just when you speak, and blameless when you judge. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Behold, you desire the truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me to know wisdom. Now, I'm going to stop there and mark that spot, because I got something. I want to talk about something here. There are a lot of children today that, the parents are not married. And sometimes that child, an innocent child, is judged because of that. I mean, this is a child, no matter what. And you know how mean some people can be about that, especially back in the day. It doesn't matter. That is a baby, and it is separate from the parent. So people judge the baby as they do the parent, which I think is really bad. They shouldn't do that. That's a child, and it happens a lot. That's another judging situation. Children are innocent. They're born innocent, and they are loved by God, and it doesn't matter. I just can't, especially back in the day where people judge the child because of the circumstance, whatever. I just couldn't understand why someone would be so judgmental But we know it did occur back in the day. Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity, and in sin my mother conceived me. Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me know to wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me hear joy and gladness, that the bones you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me by your generous spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted to you. Deliver me from the guilt of bloodshed, O God, the God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of your righteousness, O Lord. Open my lips, and my mouth shall bow forth your praise. For you do not desire sacrifice, or else I would give it. Do not delight in burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and a contrite heart. These, O God, you will not despise. Do good and your do good your good pleasure to Zion. Build the walls of Jerusalem when you shall be pleased with the sacrifice of the righteousness, with burnt offerings and whole burnt offering. Then they shall offer bulls on your altar. Now, back then, guys, they did a lot of sacrifice of animals, and blood was and it was offered as well because blood was what shall we say, a cleansing process. And a lot of you hear of fire a lot because that was also cleansing. That, fire normally cleanses, whatever it comes in contact with. But, let's see here. Well, 1,000 pins. Let's see if this one right. 52. But about these little children that's born today. They have the world is very different than it used to be, and sometimes you just have to really instill those qualities inside a child, so they'll know how to. A lot of the Catholic churches in small rural villages in Mexico will do sacrifices with animals. Uh-oh, what are they sacrificing that animal to? I hope they're not up there chanting, because you know what that means. I mean, yes, that did happen back in biblical times, but that I don't think the sacrifice of an animal holds true today, and that is, I never heard of that with animals. Well, maybe they're going back to the old biblical principles that existed eons ago, but we have a place here in Henryville. It's Clark Clark State Forest, and they would take things up there and do that, but they were doing it for a different reason. And now no one can camp in there or stay overnight because of the things that go on up there. I think it's really a shame that there's a lot of they found pentagrams and animals burnt, and so they won't let them go up there. I'm still having computer problems. Frozen again, went out, came back. Same issue. I shall read the psalm for this day. Love all y'all. I can't come back in again. Okay, Minnie. I started out having problems trying to come on. The Catholic Church is different everywhere from my experience. I know there's a rural village in the state of Chihuahua where they sacrifice chickens. I think that's kind of a very old practice, and I don't think that just exists. I think a lot of the tribal people do that as well. They all have something like a ritualistic thing, but I guess it has a lot to do with whatever the religion is, what they believe in, and you know, me, I couldn't hurt a little defenseless animal. There are a lot of tribal land, yeah, in New Mexico that also, yeah, it's a very tribal thing, but I could not hurt an animal of any kind. There might be some I'd run from, but I wouldn't. But and when we talk about ritualistic things, we really have to be careful because if you're doing a ritual to something other, I mean, that's why you go to church. That's a Christian's ritual. But if that's going on and it's in the sake of another God besides the right one, that's where the trouble comes in. And they used to do that all the time up in this forestry up here. When the American Catholic is very different from the Mexican Catholics, the Mexican Catholic tends to have more rituals than the American Catholics. I think that may have a lot to do with the locations because that's really something I have never heard of in the United States. But I think our offerings is when we go to church and give our tithe, give our money to the church for continuing church needs, and sometimes there's some of them do missionary work and they go to different countries and tell them about God because they don't know about God. There was a lady here in town that went to Brazil and spoke in Brazil about God because they didn't know who it was. They knew nothing about the Bible, and that's part of what's so good about a lot of churches because they will go to countries where people just do not know who God is, and a lot of them are really eager to learn. And I think that's good to take the good word to people that have never heard it or don't know what it's about. It has a lot to do with culture. I had a cousin in Mexico who canon, canonized by a priest as a living saint. Back in 2013, it turned out that this priest was corrupt. Oh my gosh. Cartel, that's a scary word. And Lenore says every culture is different and offerings are passed down through their ancestors. And that's true. That kind of continues on down through their ancestors. And it's very true. But yes, I came on, I think I was 10 minutes late. And I'm like, when I worked, I was always 15 minutes early. And they'd say, well, you're 15 minutes early. I said, I would rather be a little early than a whole lot of late, right? That's just the way I was. And that's so true that we live in a world where there are many different cultures and they do their offerings, and yeah, it's passed down through ancestry, through years and years and decades and and that is so true. Sometimes it's hard to kind of identify with those who, like I may not understand, things that go on, the culture in even Mexico, but the cartel part, that's scary. But let's go ahead and go to the Lord in prayer, and let us all remember West Virginia and the wildfires that have been going on. Dana has a prayer request, about the flooding. Her husband's boss, his home was condemned, and of course they had to tear it down. So let's go to prayer and remember these people that are really, some unfortunate things have happened to them. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you in prayer. We want to lift up these people who are experiencing floods in West Virginia, and to be with them because they're experiencing a lot of devastation. Also, be with Dana's husband's boss, who has lost everything, that the house had to be condemned. Be with them, Lord. May there be people come forward and help them through the things that they are going through right now that they've never really expected. But I know that there is hope in you, Lord, because you send people right when others need them, when they just need that support, Lord, after losing everything, that they would come and help them through this devastating time. Also, Lord, there's a lot of wildfires in different places throughout the United States that have burnt and destroyed everything in its path, Lord. I would prefer that, you send a rain to quench those fires that have been burning uncontrollably for months and months, and that they can rebuild what they have lost during this devastating time. Be with those, Lord, that have unspoken requests, that have things heavy on their heart that they really don't care to bring up, but you know what those are, Lord, and you stand ever ready to comfort their heart and their spirit. And be with us, Lord, throughout the week. As we go through the week, bless us and lead us down the path that you would have us go, so that we could possibly help another human being that is in need after you have blessed us so many times. All this, and bless those in the chat, Lord. What a blessing they are to me, and I hope I've blessed them in a way, Lord. So be with us all, Lord, during the week, and lead us throughout whatever we're going through, whatever it is. It is all this that I ask in your precious, precious name. Amen. Hmm. I don't think I've ever been disconnected more on YouTube than today. It says chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Huh. Well, in spite of the YouTube follies, I was able to come on after the about the third or fourth time. So it wasn't for a lack of not trying. So I'm going to let you guys go. Have a great rest of your welcome, Lenore. And thank you for being here, everyone for being here. I know when you're dealing with spectrum, nothing's as it seems. So I'm going to let you guys go. Go and help someone that might need you. You'll never know how rewarding that can be, especially if it's given from your heart. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. And I'll catch you next Tuesday. Love you guys. Bye bye now. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.